From script to screen, every film is brought to life by visionary creatives and executives, all sharing one mission: to captivate the audience. Hosted by award-winning movie strategist Kevin Goetz, our podcast, Don't Kill the Messenger, offers a filmmaking masterclass through intimate conversations with Hollywood's most influential voices. And now, your host, Kevin Goetz.
In 1981, Black Enterprise ran a cover story called The $10 Million Gamble, about a young Motown executive boldly taking the company beyond music and into film and television. A groundbreaking move at a time when few women, and even fewer black women, held that kind of power in Hollywood. That executive was my guest today, Suzanne de Passe. By then, she helped launch the Jackson 5, among many others, and had written the screenplay, Lady Sings the Blues, proving that Motown stories could thrive on the big screen. As president of Motown Productions, she turned that success into an empire, producing movies, series, and specials that redefined what a music company could be. Suzanne's career is a masterclass in vision, courage, and audience instinct. The same qualities that drive every great filmmaker. Suzanne, welcome, and I am privileged and honored to have you here today.
Well, you're going to make me blush.
Oh.
Thank you. Thank you for having me, and I'm looking forward to our chat.
Well, let's start with the fact that we're here in large measure because we have a mutual friend, Tina Sinatra.
Yes.
We love her very much, and when I found out that you guys were besties, I would sort of slowly work on her incrementally, saying, we have to get Suzanne on my show. You got to help me. She's, oh, it's Susie. I'll just call her. Let's start with a young Suzanne. Where did you grow up? Where did it all begin?
I think that I am among the most fortunate because I had such an eclectic, wonderful childhood and young adulthood. I was born in Harlem and lived in Harlem, went to a private school for 13 years called New Lincoln from kindergarten through 12th grade.
Was that in the city?
That was in the city on what's now called Central Park North. And it was a bit of a melting pot of a progressive private school. And I think in large part, a lot of my trust in my ability to look at something, think about it, critique it, and respond to it came from a lot of what went on not only in my family, but at New Lincoln. And so my grandfather was a physician practicing in Harlem. He had 3 daughters, of which my mother was one.
A GP?
Yes. His name was Dr. Lucian Brown. And he and my grandmother bought our home in Martha's Vineyard in the early 1940s.
Oak Bluffs.
Oak Bluffs on Waban Park.
We were just there, by the way, a few summers ago, and we stayed in between Vineyard Haven and Oak Bluffs on that stretch where there's deep water docks.
Right.
But Oak Bluffs is probably where we spent most of our time because, A, it was closest, there's some wonderful restaurants, but it's so beautifully colorful, and those cottages.
Yeah.
And wasn't Jaws shot right near there?
Jaws was shot down the road on State Beach between Oak Bluffs and Edgartown. And the shark, Bruce, used to be...
Bruce. Everyone knows that name, right? Yeah. It's so crazy.
Bruce used to pass by our house on a flatbed truck on his way to set.
Did you ever tell Stephen that?
No, I haven't had the opportunity.
Oh, because that's so great. Now, I want to ask you, as a young girl, you went there for the summers?
I arrived in Martha's Vineyard. I'm a July baby.
Are you a Cancer?
Yes.
So am I.
Are you really?
Triple Cancer.
I'm double.
Are you kidding?
I'm not.
Immediate connection we had.
I'm Cancer, Pisces, all water.
I'm Sun, Moon, and Rising Cancer.
Wow. What day?
June 26th.
Okay, so Tina's the 20th, and I'm July 19th. I'm closer to Leo.
But that's still Cancer.
It's still Cancer.
And she's an absolute Gemini.
And she is, even though she's kind of on the cusp almost.
Hey, Tina, you're a Gemini. Don't even think you're joining our Cancer club.
Yeah, right. Right. Well, I arrived in Martha's Vineyard in a laundry basket at the ripe old age of 16 days.
What does that mean? You arrived in a laundry basket.
My family was coming from New York
Yes.
to Woods Hole to take the ferry across to the Vineyard. And the way they transported me was in one of those old-fashioned laundry baskets with the two wicker kind of handles
I
on
thought you were left on a doorstep,
No.
like with the nuns.
That was, I guess, the equivalent of a car seat or a
That's
bassinet.
hysterical. Honestly,
Yeah.
that's what I thought. I was like, what do you mean she was on a laundry basket? Okay,
Yeah.
so
From 16 days old, every summer until I was 18, I was in Martha's Vineyard from the end of June until the middle of September.
you still go.
Absolutely. I was just there in July for 3 weeks.
Incredible. You friends with like Stacey Snider?
I'm having drinks with her today at 5.
Would you tell her I love her?
I will.
And how about Peter Chernin?
Well, I knew Peter when he was at Showtime, but I have never seen him on the Vineyard.
Oh, my Lord. Not to name drop, but I
Yeah.
have to tell you that Peter Bart, who's a very dear friend, who's been a guest on this show,
Huh?
and also he's one of my, oh, that's so funny. He's one of the people on the back of my book
Oh, yeah?
as an endorsement, as is Peter Chernin. 2 of them out of the 5 are Vineyard people. Anyway, Peter had a family home there, and Peter's nephew is one of my best friends, Roger Bart, who's a Tony-winning Broadway performer.
Oh, great.
And so they go up there every year, and I went up there with Roger when I was in college, and I fell in love with it. And I know it's your happy place.
It is my happy
I can
place.
tell just energetically. So you grow up, you go to New Lincoln, you spend your summers in Martha's Vineyard, you begin to fall in love with entertainment?
I think I fell in love with music more than entertainment per se, but my mother and my family were big consumers of what New York City had to offer in terms of the arts. The Metropolitan Opera, I'm talking about City Center Ballet, I'm talking about...
So you had a very eclectic...
I'm talking about Broadway,
Wonderful.
I'm talking about the Village Vanguard, I'm talking about
The Bitter End.
the Bitter End, and so many of the cultural, the Museum of Modern Art, the Museum of Natural History, the Whitney, Guggenheim, New York City
At its best.
at its unbelievable
Most
best.
grand. What musical, either a show, an opera, a performance, had a particular influence early on as a child for you?
I would say it was more of a cocktail of things. One thing building upon another. I had to take piano lessons, which I was woefully bad at, but I would practice.
You
and
didn't like it?
It didn't come naturally to me.
Do you play now?
I play at it. I have a baby grand piano, if that's anything.
I've been taking 2 lessons a week for the last 15 years.
And?
I love it. I don't
You
really
know-
play for anyone because I'm a perfectionist, and I play because I love music so much, and it is one of my happy places, and also gives me a great decompression of Kevin time. And so I just love the idea of,
What do you play?
right now I'm working on a Chopin piece, Waltz in A minor, and that's been for a little over a year. And do you know Maria Janis?
Yeah, I know her through my friend Suzanne Zada.
Okay, so she's become a great friend. And of course, listeners, that's Gary Cooper's daughter, Maria Cooper Janis, who was married to Byron Janis. Byron Janis was considered one of the greatest piano virtuosos, but also a composer and an interpreter of Chopin and Liszt. When I went to visit about 6 months ago, I was in New York and I went up to their apartment on Park Avenue. Byron passed away about 2 years ago. There's 2 grand pianos in this Park Avenue apartment. And I told her about my piano playing, and she said, play something. I said, oh my God, no. I got in front of his piano and I'm beginning to play and I'm screwing up because I didn't have my music,
Right.
but I was so nervous. That's
Yeah.
the reason that it's for Kev.
Yeah, right. I get you. Well, I took ballet lessons. My passion growing up was riding.
Horseback riding?
Yes.
In New York?
At Claremont Riding Academy on 89th Street and Columbus
Okay,
Avenue.
this is blowing me away.
I learned to jump there, but on the Vineyard, I taught at Dias Farm for 2 summers, young kids how to ride.
Then you went to college?
I went to Syracuse University and left.
Why'd you leave?
I think two reasons. One was I was in love with the captain of the football team and we were getting engaged. And he was going off to play.
Oh my, your parents must have been apoplectic.
Well, they'd been divorced since I was 3. And it was probably one of the first things.
They still must have been apoplectic.
They were. And my mother said, you may not want to go back to Syracuse, but you are going to someone's school. But I was so happy to leave upstate New York because it snowed in October and didn't thaw till April.
Were you a journalism major or a theater
English
major?
Lit.
English Lit.
Mm-hmm.
Great major, by the way. People say, what do you do with an English Lit? My answer is everything.
Everything.
So you left Syracuse, and did you end up completing, or did you go right into the working
No,
world?
I went to Manhattan Community College, and I loved it there because I was in my element. I was in New York, and there's a difference between have to and want to. For me, the have to was very difficult. But when it's the want to, it's a breeze. It's easy. It's engaging and it's interesting, and they're horses for courses. I mean, I didn't belong in upstate New York, and I knew it.
Yeah, we sometimes follow these, that's the route we're supposed to take, and then you realize, not my perfect path.
Right. And yet, Syracuse awarded me their highest alumni honor, the Arentz Award, which I went back to Syracuse and received, and I had gotten a Chancellor's Award before that. And I kept telling them, I said, but I didn't finish. And they said, but you're ours anyway.
Oh.
And it was very touching, actually.
Very touching. What happened to the football player?
He went on to cheat on me. And
at the ripe old age of 19 or something.
No, he was older. He was a senior. You know, he went to play professional football, and I would go down to some of the home games, what was called then the Redskins.
Well, he was a fool.
Now the Commanders. No, I thank him every day, and we're still friends.
No, you're not.
Oh, yeah.
Incredible.
Oh, yeah.
Did he seek you out once you became famous?
We kind of kept in touch over the years. You know, he ended up marrying someone else, and that was great with me.
That's great.
And, you know, not everybody is meant to be the thing that you meet them for the first time in your life. In other words, not everybody's supposed to be your best friend or your mentor or your husband, fiance. People transform in their relationship to you, I think.
What's your superpower?
I don't know if I have a superpower, but I am an enthusiast.
You're a number 7?
How do you know that?
'Cause I'm a 7. Enneagram. Unbelievable. I want to just say something, and I'm going to tell our listeners. I look at Suzanne across from me, and we are meant to be in each other's lives. I'm getting emotional. I don't know why, but let me just say, there is something so kind and elegant about you that I just am very moved by.
Oh, well, thank you. My maternal grandmother named me, and my name is Suzanne Celeste de Passe. All 3 of my names
French.
have 7 letters.
Oh.
My first and last name end in a double letter E, and my relationship to my name is very intense, and that's where the 7, I think, comes from.
You are not aware of the Enneagram. Oh, my Lord. You and drinks, dinner, it's a night, and you're going to be floored when you hear what a 7 is. There are 9. Listeners, do your Enneagram. You go online. It takes about 10 or 15 minutes to do, and you get the number. You're one of 9. And the different categories are like 1 is the reformer, 2 is the helper, 3 is the achiever, 4 is the individualist, 5 is the investigator, 6 is the loyalist, 7 is the enthusiast.
Wow.
8 is the challenger, and 9 is the peacemaker. And not only are you mostly one thing, but you're also a wing of something that borders yours. So, for example, I'm a 7 enthusiast with a challenger border. My husband, Neil, is a 6, a loyalist. You know, you don't want to do bad by him because you're dead to me. You're dead to me. Don't even go there, you know. But he's a investigator on his wing. So we're going to get you set up with that because you are going to be so intrigued. I cannot believe that came out of your mouth. So your superpower is you're an enthusiast. Damn. I'm floored by that. I'm sorry. So tell me about that, though. How has that manifested in your life?
I think there's an energetic fuel that comes from the world, your environment. And that fuel is received by me anyway in things that I'm interested in. And I'm excited by them.
Insatiably curious.
And I'm extremely curious, but I'm also easily distracted from something I'm pursuing because something else comes along.
But let me ask you about the other thing that I observe from your career, which is your eye, your ability to identify talent, to identify something special, different, unique. Is that fair to say that that is a gift?
I think so. I think it is a gift. And I think that I have been quoted as saying that if I have any talent at all, it is recognizing the talent of others and having a good idea what to do with it.
Wow. Let's get to getting into the work world. You were young when you met Berry Gordy. How did you meet Berry?
I had a friend who was with a group called Patti LaBelle and the Bluebells. Her name is Cindy Birdsong.
Wait, Supremes?
Yeah. And Cindy was tapped by Motown to leave the Bluebells and join the Supremes to replace Florence Ballard. And Cindy and I were friends, and she was coming to New York to do her first Ed Sullivan show. And I, by that time, was the talent coordinator of a club called Cheetah.
Where was Cheetah?
52nd Street and Broadway, diagonally across the street from what is now the Ed Sullivan Theater. And so I wanted to take Cindy out for dinner to celebrate. And for some reason, I rented a limousine that I couldn't afford because I wasn't sure we would be able to get cabs and was showing off a little bit.
So you are in this rented limousine.
Sitting in the back seat behind the driver. This is important because I'm behind the driver. I wanted to go inside, but I'm much too well bred to go where I'm not invited. I could hear my mother, And so Cindy came out and said the words that changed my life forever. Now, mind you, this is 1967. She leaned in the car and she said, "Suzanne, Mr. Gordy's car has gone on an errand and he needs a ride to an appointment. Can we take him?" So the first time I met Berry Gordy, I gave him a ride in my limousine that I couldn't afford. He had an appointment at an art gallery. He, first of all, was astonished to see this kid
With a limo.
And I could tell he was trying to put it together. So when we got to his appointment, couldn't have been more than 20 minutes, he said, "Well, don't leave me. Come on in." So he went in the back and did whatever he was doing. He comes back out. We get back in the limo. He says, "Well, why don't you guys come to dinner at the Essex House," which was where they were all staying.
By the way, you were invited in there.
I know, I was invited. So there, I didn't have the presence of mind to release the limousine. Now, meanwhile, the Essex House is only like 5 blocks away from my 5-flight walk up on East 57th Street, where I have a roommate who had gone to New Lincoln also.
You're like 21, 22?
No, I'm 20. And in those days in New York, you could drink at 18.
Oh, yes, I remember. I'm from there too, by the way.
But I lived at 315 East 57th Street on the 5th floor. I think the closest landmark is across the street from what is now Mr. Chow. But it wasn't there then. So I could have walked home easily, but I was so swept up in it. We went in for dinner and all of his security team and entourage and all these people were just, "Where have you been?" And he's a little mischievous. So he was very happy to have had an alternative to give them the slip, so to speak, which he did.
So now you're at the Essex House.
We're at the Essex House in the dining room. They're bringing him the phone. They're whispering in his ear. There's a whole thing going on. And I'm like fascinated.
Absolutely.
Never seen anything quite like that. And we had dinner. And Cindy and I really didn't get a chance to talk. So the next day, I went back over because they had a concert at the Westbury Music Fair that night. Motown had booked them on the day off to do a concert.
Very big arena space.
In the round.
Right, for those of you who don't know, back east.
Yeah. And so I went back and Cindy and I are in her suite and talking, and, I'm so excited for her and looking forward to watching the show the next night and all of that. And we're catching up on girly stuff. Get in the elevator, the elevator's coming down, elevator stops, doors open, and there, waiting to get on the elevator, in a Poochie dress with a Maltese puppy on her arm and a Sassoon wig and the eyelashes, is Diana Ross.
Oh, by herself?
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
Gets
Lord.
on the elevator. Cindy introduces me. She's politely cold. And we go down onto the street, 59th Street, and there are two limos there. And Miss Ross gets in the first limo, and Cindy and Mary Wilson get in the second limo. And this was the beginning of it becoming Diana Ross and the Supremes. And
you could feel the tension.
And not so much that I could feel the tension, but I had a different reaction when those two limos pulled away and I'm standing under the Essex House sign. And I looked at that and I said to myself, one day that's going to be me.
I knew you were going to say that. I love that. I want that world. Mm-hmm. Whose limo did you want to be in?
I wanted to be in the atmosphere of what that all means.
When we come back, we're going to talk to Suzanne about the beginnings of Motown and the extraordinary film and television career she had. We'll be back in a moment. Listeners, the Motion Picture and Television Fund is a nonprofit charitable organization that supports working and retired members of the entertainment community. This wonderfully run organization offers assistance for living and aging with dignity and purpose in the areas of health and social services, including temporary financial assistance, case management, and residential living, and has been a crucial lifeline to thousands during and beyond critical times that our industry continues to experience. To learn more, visit mptf.com. Please join me in helping others in our industry during times of need. There are so many ways to offer support and get involved. Thank you. We are back with the legendary Suzanne de Passe. Suzanne, I want to now talk about Motown. So you take that unbelievable evening, then that morning, you're saying, I want to be in that orbit. I want to be in that space. How do you get the job with Berry, and how does he promote you in the next few years?
I think it's fair to say that I had no expectation that I was going to end up at Motown. But over the course of the next several months, they were in New York a lot. And by they, I mean either Mr. Gordy came with Smokey Robinson or Diana Ross came, to go shopping. And I kind of became the go-to person in New York.
The liaison.
Yeah. I knew the restaurants.
Making
I knew the clubs. I knew a lot.
Absolutely.
I was a Manhattan girl. That borough I knew well. So I did end up spending some additional time with them. Cindy invited me at the end of 1967, Christmas week. I flew to Miami at her invitation, paid for my own ticket, of course, but to spend from the 26th through New Year's. They were appearing at the Deauville Hotel, they being the Supremes. And by this time, I had a different job. I had been poached from Cheetah to work for a man called Howard Stein. He had created something called the Sound of the Month Club. And the Sound of the Month Club was in the business of selling concert tickets for Lee Goober's 5 theaters.
Oh.
Lee Goober was married to Barbara Walters at the time, and he had 5 theaters that played musicals like Camelot and My Fair Lady and...
Like the Schuberts or the Niederlanders.
Yeah, but these were regional. These theaters were in Michigan and Long Island. It was, Westbury was one of them. And I can't even remember all the cities
now. They used to call them circuits, didn't they?
But yeah, his 5 theaters were playing book musicals. And in between the book musicals coming in were weekends that were free.
So you could book concerts or whatever.
Exactly.
It was,
and
yeah.
Howard had worked out a deal with Lee Goober to sell tickets, and he hired me to book the talent. And after a week of watching the Supremes in Miami, where did I sit? I sat with Berry Gordy, his kids, his sisters and brothers, and he came from a family of 8. He had 3 brothers and 4 sisters, one of whom had passed away by the time I met him, one of the sisters, Lucy. And I got to be more comfortable with him. And one day we were getting ready to go down to the show, and there were 2 of them, the dinner show and the late show. And there's a bank of 6 elevators because the way the suites were located, the Deauville Hotel had these penthouse suites with 2 stories. And then the room connecting Diana Ross's suite with Berry Gordy's suite was the room that Cindy and I were sharing.
Oh.
So it was everybody running through and very family oriented. It was a lot of fun.
Did Diana warm up to you by this time?
Yeah, because we had gone shopping in New York. She had called me to go
All
shopping.
it takes is a good shopping
That's
trip
absolutely.
for 2 gals to bond, right?
Absolutely. And it was a fun week. You know, it was really fun.
Sure.
So we're standing by the bank of elevators, and Mr. Gordy looks at me and he says, okay, $5, which elevator comes first? You know, that kind of thing. And at the table waiting for the show, he wanted to play games of logic and tell jokes. And there's a kind of a round table game called 7 Up that I had to learn. You know, it was...
Not bid whist?
No. It was... There were no cards at the dinner show. No. I play bid whist, but that's in Martha's Vineyard. Anyway, one of the things that he, you know, it's one of those, if a bus goes down the street and it's 2 people get on, 4 people get off.
Oh, gotcha.
It's how many stops did the bus make?
I would failed miserably.
He liked to see, because remember his kids were there.
And you probably were good at them.
Well, the one thing that I was good at, one of the things that he thought was so clever was a plane crashes on the border of Switzerland and Italy. What side do they bury the survivors on? And of course I said, well, typically, Mr. Gordy, they do not bury survivors. And he thought that was pretty smart. So anyway.
It got you a job.
Well, what happened was after several evenings of that, I felt more comfortable to say to him, after the New Year's Eve show, Diana Ross had a reception up in her suite. Mm-hmm. And I felt comfortable enough to say to him at that point, you know, Mr. Gordy, I have a new job and I'm having a wonderful time booking Sonny and Cher and Simon and Garfunkel.
Oh, you're talking major acts that you booked.
Oh, yeah. All these acts, because I was working with the agencies.
Yeah, I get it. I
know?
didn't know that they were of that caliber.
Oh, yeah. And I said, but I can never get answers on the Motown acts.
Ooh.
I deal with the William Morris Agency. They have to call someone called Mr. Abner, and he doesn't let them know if so-and-so's available, you know, if Smokey's available or the Four Tops or Temptations, whatever. And he looked at me and he said, well, I don't know what's wrong, but maybe we need someone like you to help us figure it out.
You betcha.
And 2 weeks later, they flew me out for my interview.
You become the creative assistant
Uh-huh.
to Berry Gordy.
Yeah.
So what was your primary job when you arrived in Detroit?
To, based on submissions, give him my opinion, basically.
Like an A&R?
Well, people were submitting demos and projects of various
Didn't he
things.
have people doing that?
Look, Motown was set up with a lot of exclusive writers and producers, but I think he wanted his office to be more responsive and responsible.
Absolutely.
You know, Berry Gordy is first and foremost a very creative songwriter.
I didn't know that.
The reason that Motown got started was because he wasn't getting paid for the songs that he was writing for people like Jackie Wilson. In other words, if I'm not going to get paid, I might as well not pay myself, kind of thing.
Yeah, of course.
And so there's a very famous story that his family had a co-op, and he was able to borrow $800 from the family aggregate of money, you know, the family bank, if you want to call it that. And he used that money to make his first record.
Wow.
And it went on from there. So what's interesting about his trajectory was the more successful Motown became, the less time he had to devote to songwriting and producing.
Yeah. That was probably an itch that needed to be scratched, for sure.
By the time I got to the company, it was already very, very successful. And he was still competing with his producers and writers for releases. But then that had to eventually go away.
Let me ask you about the Jackson Five. Who told you about them originally?
When I moved into 1300 East Lafayette Street in Detroit, it was a high-rise building that housed a lot of Motown talent. Executive talent, recording talent, producing talent, writing talent,
Sure.
Diana Ross had the penthouse, although she had a home in the city and she traveled a lot, but she had the penthouse, other executives were in there, and some of the artists. One of the artists was a man called Bobby Taylor. Bobby Taylor was the lead singer of a group called Bobby Taylor and the Vancouvers. Their big hit record was Does Your Mama Know About Me? It's a great record. And he called me and said, hey, I want you to come down, because it was becoming known that I worked for Mr. Gordy. And he said, I want you to come down to my apartment. There's something I want you to see. I said, I don't know, Bobby Taylor, I'm not coming to your apartment.
This is before Harvey Weinstein.
Right. He said, oh, no, it's nothing like that. Come on down. Went down to his apartment, and there, spread across his living room, were these kids.
You mean they were there?
Yeah. And he clapped his hands and he said, okay, this is Suzanne de Passe. She works for Mr. Gordy and she can help us get the audition. They got up. They sang like 4 songs a cappella. Hair on the back of my neck flew up. I got it. It doesn't take a genius to recognize what they were. And I went back to my apartment. I think this was like late on a Friday or something. I didn't get him right away. And when I finally did speak with him on the telephone, I said, oh, Mr. Gordy,
You called him Mr. Gordy?
I still do. I mean, I refer to him that way.
It's only charlatans like myself who call him Berry because we don't know better.
You're right. No, but I mean, I think that certainly I called him Mr. Gordy for years. And I always refer to him as Mr. Gordy, even though I call him BG, Berry, Chairman, Chair, whatever, Chair Z. I have a lot of pet names for him. And I said, Mr. Gordy, I just saw a great act. I think we should sign. He said, great. I said, wait until you see these kids. He went, kids? I don't want any kid acts. Do you know how much trouble Stevie Wonder is? And basically I said, no, I don't. I just got here.
Why was Stevie a problem?
Well, it's court approval and teacher welfare workers.
Same reason they don't want to employ in a movie if you have a 16 or 17, you want to get an 18-year-old because you don't deal with child labor laws.
Exactly.
Got it.
And kids require a lot. And I think my claim to fame, if there is something to be claimed there, is I did not give up. I was relentless till he saw them.
You mean it was hard to get him to see them?
Yeah.
Wow. And once he did?
He put the entire resource of the company behind them.
Wow, wow, wow. Our dear mutual friend, Graham King, is, of course, working on the movie Michael, which I am dying to see. Michael is going to be, I believe, an extraordinary picture based on the conversations I've had with Graham over the last few years. It is the project that he's always been wanting to do desperately. He believes in it with every ounce of passion. And I don't know if you know this. Do you know how he met the Jacksons? He was working in a gas station when he first got here from England.
I don't think I know this part.
He was working at a gas station. He was a student at UCLA and he was just trying to make ends meet. And Jermaine Jackson pulls in with his wife Hazel, who happened to be Berry Gordy's daughter. And they started talking and they kind of hit it off. I mean, Graham was charming with his British accent. And Jermaine mentioned in the course of this conversation that he and his brothers play softball at a local park on Saturday mornings. And would he, Graham, like to join them sometime? He said, sure. So he went and he said, Michael would show up sometimes. And it was the beginning of this lifelong friendship. And he reveres the family, really does. And so I am so anxious, and listeners, I hope you have the same sort of level of anticipation that I do for this. Michael was beyond a singular talent. What was your relationship like with him?
I had a great relationship with Michael and the brothers. It was funny over the course of the journey that we took together because Mr. Gordy placed me in charge of everything to do with the group beside recording the music. That was what he was leading on.
Where was Joseph during this time?
Joseph was brooding and basically sidelined. He was the father, and he called the family shots, but the Motown machinery was in full force and effect.
That couldn't have gone over well with him.
I think one of the reasons that he took the group away at the end of the contract was he knew he could never be in charge in the Motown environment. He brought them to a certain point when I saw them.
Absolutely. You got to give him that.
Absolutely. And then we took over.
You bet.
Mr. Gordy put together teams of people, the corporation, the clan, to create the records. And my cousin and I, my cousin Tony Jones, who was working with me, and I was really thrilled that he came for a weekend and is still here. He could do a lot of the things with the boys, especially the older boys, that would be uncomfortable for them and for me as a young woman. But what was so interesting to me as I look back is that Tony and I took the ride with them from anonymity to superstardom that nobody knows about.
Wow.
And they kind of pick up the story after Michael becomes a solo act. And what I find fascinating is all those years that we were together, basically.
Was there any resentment from Mr. Gordy or yourself that Michael went to a different label?
No. It was more emotional than that. It was not anger. It was disappointment.
Sure, of course.
Yeah.
Of course.
And
he was a father figure in many ways.
Oh, Berry Gordy was definitely father figure to Michael.
Yeah, 100%, right?
You know, and remember, Michael played the Scarecrow in The Wiz long after he had left Motown.
Did you put that together?
I did not. What I did was I brought the person who had the rights to The Wiz over to what was then Motown Productions.
When did you take that over?
Rob Cohen in 1982.
And what are you most proud of in taking over Motown Productions?
Motown 25, that was my first show.
Listeners, you should know that last year, Suzanne was inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. An amazing honor, an extraordinary honor, really.
Yeah.
And what was that night like for you?
Being inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame as an executive.
It's almost unheard of, right? Any women?
Yes. I was the fifth woman. The first three women got it with their songwriting husbands, Carole King and Jerry Goffin, like that, Cynthia Wilde. The fourth woman was Sylvia Robinson, who got it posthumously. And the fifth woman was me.
Wow.
So I'm technically the first solo living recipient among legends of male recipients. It's the Ahmet Ertegun Award.
That's the top award, isn't it?
Yeah. Everybody from David Geffen to Berry Gordy to Clive Davis, you know, all of the really.
Oh, God. That must have been just a night.
It was. I look back on it, and fortunately, I can watch it on Disney Plus, and I am truly blown away. I never thought it could happen. When I got the call,
Who called you?
I was minding my business, and my cell phone rang. John Platt comes up on the thing. Says, Suzanne? I said, yes. And he said, hold on a minute. I want to get Rob on the phone. I said, who? He said, Rob Light. And then Rob comes on the phone. And one of them said, I don't even remember which one, after hello and all of that, are you sitting down? I said, well, I am now, you know. And they said, we are delighted to inform you. Oh, I'm getting touched. And I burst into tears. You know, they said, we are delighted to inform you that you're going to be inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, Odergan Award, blah, blah, blah. And I didn't just cry. I mean, those tears flew out of they didn't go down my cheeks. They went out into the universe.
Well, it's like in your field, it doesn't get bigger.
No, it doesn't.
You did so many productions, movies, television, cable, linear. What stands out? Because we could probe that for an entire another episode, but what stands out during that period of time? Lonesome Dove, you did.
Right.
I mean, gosh, was that your idea to turn that into a
Lonesome
movie?
Dove, this is what I think I mean about being enthusiastic and being interested. I met Larry McMurtry when my ex-husband, Paul Matt, and I were at Canyon Ranch in Tucson, Arizona.
Not too shabby.
And Gloria Steinem was there. And she and Mort Zuckerman were dating at the time. And I ran into Gloria Steinem in the women's locker room. And she said, "Hey, Suzanne, Mort and I are going off campus tonight for dinner. Do you and Paul want to go?" And I had had about enough of that lettuce. So she said,
We're there.
She said, "We're going from Mexico." I said, "Yes." So we go to dinner. And she said, "We're joining some friends." And the friends that they were joining were Larry McMurtry and a friend of his, a woman called Leslie Silko, a wonderful author. And Larry and I just started talking. We hit it off. I said, "Next time you're in LA, I'd love to take you to lunch." He called me. And off we go to lunch. And I said, "Well, what do you have?" I kind of got to the point, because at this point, in terms of
what do you have lying around, Larry?
Yeah, I said, "What's kicking around the old trunk that hasn't been produced yet?" And he said, "I have a book coming out in June, but you probably wouldn't be interested in it. It's a Western."
Fair play.
I said, "Well, I would be interested. I love the West. I love horses. I'm a horsewoman."
Oh.
Blah, blah, blah. He said, "We'll call Swifty Lazar and my agent and let him know." I said, "I will." And I did.
And you got it.
I got Unbound Galleys in ream boxes. And I took home a box a night, and I thought it was great. I didn't even finish it before I made that call to...
That's a very common occurrence. When someone is passionate about something, they read it halfway through and they say, "We're in."
Yeah.
I've heard that story so many times. It's so interesting.
It's not that I didn't finish the book, but
I got what you're saying, of course. You were so taken with it. You said, "This is something I want to spend 2 years of my life doing."
Right. And I called Irving. He charged me $50,000 for an option.
For how long?
18 months.
It's a lot of money for 18 months.
I didn't know better then. So I spent $50,000 of Berry Gordy's money on a book that I came to find out had been passed on by everybody.
Thank you, Swifty.
That's why they call him Swifty. And a woman who was working with us at the time, Diane Sokolow, she was working in Motown Productions. She had worked at Warner Brothers. And she came in and gave me the Warner Brothers coverage of Lonesome Dove, which was horrible.
Ooh, some person killed that project who didn't get it.
Right.
Ooh.
Mm-hmm.
And now that's probably a great piece of advice you tell young people doing coverage. It's like, you better be very careful about.
Well, not only that, but, now that there's AI and everybody plops it into AI and stuff like that. But I just believe there's no substitute for the human emotional response.
Instinct.
Yeah.
Just that alchemy. Absolutely.
So the Larry McMurtry and I spent a good deal of time together trying to figure out what to do. Because all of the...
He knew that too, Larry, that everyone passed?
I don't think he did. I think he came to know it.
Right.
Because we
So
spent
now
a lot
you're
of
in a
time
dilemma
together.
going, what am I going to do here? Who's going to develop it with me? Who did?
So Larry and I met with directors. We thought, well, if we get a director, we can figure this out. So we met with John Huston. We met with John Milius. We met with Peter Bogdanovich. And somewhere along the way, Larry looked at me and he said, "Suzanne, I'm written out on this. I have to get on to my next project."
Right.
And so off he went.
Did you pay him for a script?
No. He didn't write a script. He had written a treatment.
Oh. And now I've taken it where I can. Now you take it and...
We've done as much as we can do together. And I was really trying to figure it out. And one spring morning, Mr. Lazar called me and said, "Kid, I want you to know that this morning Larry McMurtry's Lonesome Dove has won the Pulitzer Prize for fiction."
Suzanne, you have fairy dust sprinkled around you. This serendipitous stuff that has happened. There are no accidents.
No, I don't believe in accidents. I believe in divine intervention.
Who ended up doing it, by the way?
CBS.
Genius.
Peter Frankovich bought it
Bought it.
for the network.
Got it. And who directed it?
Simon Windsor.
Oh, he's wonderful. Free Willy.
Yeah.
Didn't you win all kinds of Emmys?
We were nominated for 19. We won 11, I think.
Oh, my Lord.
But we didn't win Best Miniseries.
That's all right.
We won the Golden Globe for the Best Miniseries.
Yeah.
We got a Peabody.
You have a few Peabodys, don't
Yeah.
you?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, God. Awards. So my new book, How to Score in Hollywood, has come out, and it's doing quite well, thank God. And the book is about understanding, before you shoot a frame of film, making the best business decisions you possibly can, right? Understanding the audience, not in the creation, because that's art. That's between you and the universe, or the writer or the creator and the gods. But once you memorialize something, a treatment, a script, etc., I advocate very strongly for involving the audience and to know what you have, what the intensity of interest is, how large or sizing that audience correctly, because then you can make decisions that are far more responsible. In your career, have you used audience research?
No.
Never? Dial testing on series?
No.
Or why?
I'm not saying that the networks haven't. In other words,
Yeah, they of course did. Even Sister, I think.
yeah.
I bought a company, remember the Preview House?
Yes, I had been to the Preview House.
I bought that company about a dozen years ago.
Yeah, good for you.
So it thrust us in the TV business as a result of that. But that was a seminal moment for Screen Engine, my company, because we were really a movie company, and now it made us much more of a content company, if
Right.
you will.
Not because of any particular bias to testing, but because as an independent producer, that's not my job. My job is to pick well, package well, execute well, and then somebody else can test it at whatever point that comes in the process. I will never forget, we were on a terrible deadline for the Temptations miniseries for NBC. And we happened to be in post across the street from what was then the NBC lot in the Valley. And a new executive was put on the release. This was a Friday. It was going up on the satellite Sunday for broadcast back in the East before it aired in the West. And he brings us over, and Suzanne Costin, one of my great colleagues, she started as my secretary, became the president of my company later. And we were on deadline. We hadn't had any sleep. And he brings us over and he says, "I don't want to disappoint you. I know you're working hard, but the testing on the Temptations is horrible."
Oh.
And I said, "How could it be tested? It's not finished. We're across the street. We're finishing it. Sound isn't corrected, that this, that, you know." And he said, "Well, of course, we tested it, and I just wanted to give you a heads up." So we had to go back over, do another all-nighter with that burden.
Of course.
7:00 in the morning, Monday, after the first episode aired. "Suzanne?" "Yes." "Hi, it's Scott Sassa from NBC." I said, "Hi, Scott." He said, "Well, girl, I want to tell you, congratulations. It went through the roof, and let's get together soon and talk about doing something like the Supremes." So for me, testing, and I do believe everything is tested, but I also believe there would never be a flop, because you would never put out something that tested badly. Do you know what I mean?
I do, but they always do put out things that are less, because a lot of them are baked in the DNA, and they have to proceed or want to proceed.
I guess my point
proceed.
is, if testing was fail-safe.
It's not fail-safe. It's a tool.
It's a tool.
I talk about this, and there's a lot of reasons as to why I believe that I like to give my clients the best chance for success.
Yeah.
But I'm not saying that you're going to get anything guaranteed. My God, I would never be so stupid as to do that or naive. But there are definitely decisions that could be made before you even start production. You mentioned your job as a producer was to do and to the execution, which is absolutely true. But in the packaging stage, I do believe that there's a fiduciary responsibility that would help producers be more successful and sell more if they understood the economics in a way that they could sell to the people they're pitching to. In other words, coming in and saying, we think this is going to do this and this budget is here could be your death knell, because it could be like you're basically saying this way or the highway, as opposed to saying, I know the audience is really strong here and I think this can be sold. And having that sort of data to prove it can go a long way.
Yeah,
and I've seen that happen.
Maybe so.
I've seen that.
I think that part of the job of a producer is to understand where their first target audience may reside.
100%.
And that the crossover to other quadrants, if you will, is the calculation of whether you even do the project in the first place.
That's my point. You might say, I can't do it for this cost. I want to ask you about your new company. It's called
Immortal Studio.
Immortal Studio. You have a tremendous amount of financial backing, at least what I read in the trades. Can you tell us about the company?
My partner, Madison Jones, and my partner, Corey Martin, of Randerson Day Roche law firm, we have come together with Yangbin Wang, a very committed and entrepreneurial investor in the company. And basically, we are headed toward being able to do premium television series from day one, because in the last period of time that we've been working on this, which has been substantial, we have full seasons already written, scripted.
Oh, wow.
So it's not about a pilot and a take and a this and a Bible and whatever.
That's kind of dead anyway, isn't it? The pilot.
I guess. I think our mission is we want to be able to reach the audience and create wonderful content that is financed in large part by our company.
So that you can have the agency to keep the vision and not...
Right.
The more people that pee on something,
absolutely,
it always leads to mediocrity,
I call it the finger.
doesn't it?
Yeah, I call it the fingerprinting process.
Yes.
Everybody wants their fingerprints on it and stuff like that.
I'm less elegant.
And to be able to engage in what really is the important part of the business, which is wonderful storytelling, well told and executed, that is commercial. And to have it be, when you're looking at it on the screen, a version of what you envisioned it to be in the first place.
Absolutely. Part of what our testing also does is keeps you honest. It starts at the process of pre-green light, brings it into what we call capability, pre-green light. Then we bring it into playability, which is the actual thing that you've produced, the pilot, the series, the full series, into marketability, and then into buzzability. So we're measuring all through the life cycle. Are you staying within the vision that you set out to make?
Right.
Which I think is very important. Are you encouraged by the future with the streamers, with new vertical format that's coming out now, or are you horrified by it?
No, I'm not horrified at all. I'm very bullish on what the condition of the business is allowing people like us to do.
I agree with you. I am very optimistic. And I think there's a lot of opportunity. Whenever I say that, what I just said, I get at least a half a dozen phone calls from people wanting to take me to lunch to say, can you just articulate those areas of opportunity? I'd love to hear what they are. Where do you think the biggest opportunity lies right now?
I think the biggest opportunity lies in several places, but a very large opportunity to me is in being nimble and being able to adapt to this very fast-moving environment. And I think that a lot of the bigger companies are being sort of saddled down with a bureaucracy and a procedural requirement that makes it very business focused, but not artist friendly.
Is it fair to say Immortal Studio will take the artist friendly approach and be nimble and pivot accordingly?
Absolutely.
Was that a leading setup or what?
Thank you.
I mean, seriously, right?
Yeah.
I feel like that is where you come from, what you've created in your life, and now in your next chapter, what you're going to take to fruition.
I think there's more money than great operations and ideas. Money is not the problem. Money is a source of fuel for concepts that are worthy.
Are the networks dead?
I don't think they're dead. I just think that they need to do some pivoting themselves.
Is linear television dead? Because cable really is going down in terms of audience.
I think that this period is one of a chaotic, very uncertain, very messy.
And from that comes great change.
From that comes great change and great opportunity. And I'm excited about the future. I'm excited about the projects that we've put together over these last few years and developed full seasons. So a lot of people want to put their fingerprints on it and they want to be involved but there are some places, I believe, that will say, thank you, God. I just saved 5 or 8 or 10 or however many millions of dollars of speculative money because I can read it and say, I like it, I hate it.
I would only add one thing to that, and I won't say anything beyond this. I love what you said. I would just add the audience to the equation. They should get a seat at the table, not the decision maker, but a seat at the table because you're making it for them.
Mm-hmm.
That's my own.
Well, I think that you've touched on something that's very interesting to explore because in my experience, the ability to do that has been much more exotic and much more out of reach.
And used as a weapon often.
Very often.
Not as a tool.
Not as a tool.
And I am the first to say it. Suzanne de Passe, thank you so much for spending time with me, sharing your insights, opening up like you did. This was a joyous conversation, and I hope you feel the same way.
I do feel the same way. I enjoyed talking to you, and it's rare to have the opportunity to really share with people a person who is so knowledgeable and so well-versed and so shorthandy in terms of not having to go to, well, first there was camera and then we had to get to sound. And,
Exactly.
It's like very refreshing.
And I am dying to hear more about your projects at Immortal Studio. I can't wait to tell you about my book, How to Score in Hollywood.
I can't wait to read it. And by the way, do not feel that I'm adverse to learning some new stuff.
I love that, and it makes me further love you. Thank you so much. To our listeners, I hope you enjoyed this conversation. For more insights into filmmaking, audience testing, and the business of Hollywood, I invite you to check out my books, Audienceology and How to Score in Hollywood, at Amazon or through my website at kevingetz360.com. You can also follow me on my social media. Next time on Don't Kill the Messenger, I'll welcome the creatively inspirational director, producer, and screenwriter, John M. Chu. Until then, I'm Kevin Goetz, and to you, our listeners, I appreciate you being part of the movie-making process. Your opinions matter.